People don't know this, but when you talk about a company like Apple, Apple doesn't really own factories. They outsource the manufacturing of their products to contract manufacturers. If you've got nothing but a product idea, the last thing you should be looking for is a factory. In this video, we're going to go over why that is, what's the best alternative, and how to go about it. Factories are not set up or operated in a way that makes them capable of being a turnkey solution. What factories are great at is taking a component and making it. That's it. Once you step outside of that comfort zone, you're going to be dealing with people that are trying to come up with solutions, not great solutions, to a problem as aforementioned that they're not really suited to come up with. If you give a factory, let's get specific, if you get a battery factory, a battery component project, if you audit them and do your due diligence, you are most likely to end up with a battery that is perfectly suitable for your project. However, if you give an entire product to a battery factory, they're not going to turn away the business. They're going to try to come up with a solution to make the entire product. So how are they going to do it? They're going to rig together a team that's capable of doing that using probably a network of their friends, family, and close contacts. Means that your outer casing is going to get made by a cousin. Screen is going to get made by a friend, right? And while that may sound attractive at first, the reality is that the quality output from those types of decisions is probably going to be poor. Your decision making is centralized with one factory to make a slew of components that they're not comfortable making. So what's the solution? In my mind, if you have a product idea and you're looking to manufacture it from scratch or even early on in the decision-making process, a contract manufacturer is the only option. Now, some people will critique that and say that you should work with an engineering firm first to get your product design done. Okay, well, a quick anecdote of a customer that spent $250,000 with an engineering firm came out with great design files. And when I say great, they looked great. They did not perform great. In fact, they were not DFM, designed for manufacturability. They could not be made, and the guy was completely out of luck. Whereas when you work with a contract manufacturer in those early stages, they already have the supply chain figured out. It is designed for a specific supply chain, not even just for manufacturability. It's designed for efficiency with the actual factories that will be making your product. Now, what is a contract manufacturer? Let's ask Google. A contract manufacturer is a manufacturer that contracts with a firm for components or products. What is the best definition of a contract manufacturer? From my perspective, it's Foxconn, right? People don't know this, but when you talk about a company like Apple, right, you talk about the most valuable company in the world, one of the biggest hardware manufacturers in the world. Apple doesn't really own factories. They outsource the manufacturing of their products to contract manufacturers, Foxconn being one of them. Foxconn has facilities and operations all over the world where they take that product, they break it down into components, and they manufacture each of those components at specialized factories and then bringing it all together at the end of the day. Why use contract manufacturers? I think 3 reasons besides that it's the only option in my opinion. The 3 main benefits are, 1, working with specialists. I'm talking about for people that do their due diligence, that start slow and scale aggressively only when the partnerships are working, right? I'm not talking about outlying situations. I'm talking about if you do your job right. If you do your job right, you will be guaranteed to get good quality because you're working with specialists. Number 2, you'll be getting a better price. Now, if you're getting work done by specialists, how are you going to have a better price, right? That seems to contradict itself because there's less fingers in the pie, right? When you're working with just the specialist, they're very comfortable with that process. Their supply chain has already reached maturation. They're not factoring in extra costs for messing up. They're not factoring in other costs to give their friend a piece of the pie. No, you're getting what you get. It's going to be good quality. They know their margins. They're comfortable with them. You take it and you leave. By working with those specialists, you do end up, maybe not the cheapest price, but cheap should never be your goal. Fair should be your goal. Allowing you to sell your product affordably for your end customer in a way that also allows you to have a guaranteed margin, right? You don't want quality up and down, your margin always changing, factories ripping you off. No, cheap should not be your goal. Affordable for you, affordable for your end customer so that everyone makes a profit, right? That's what these big companies do. That's how these companies make hardware so magnificently. And then finally, as a byproduct of this, you protect your IP. You protect your IP by giving only components to specialist factories. If you're farming out your entire product to everybody on Alibaba, well, everybody has your design files. I've talked about this a lot in other videos, but when you do that, you basically give people permission to copy it. Obviously not permission, but you get my point. So by working with a contract manufacturer, you are guaranteed expert quality, you are guaranteed competitive pricing, and you guarantee yourself IP protection. When I first got to China, I quickly learned that there was a big difference between factories and contract manufacturers, the pros and the cons in each. And because of that, when I set up Morpho as a contract manufacturer, I realized that those three things were the most important. And we set up a system called CCM, Component Control Method, to ensure that we're doing that for all the products that we make. The result has been beautiful. We continue to make the Rolexes and Rolls Royces of every industry. We've come a long way. Our specialist Rolodex has grown. Our relationships with those factories has also matured. And we're in a place now where I think we can make anything in the world. So to finish, don't go to a factory if you just have an idea. If you have your product broken down into components, go out, do that hard work, do the due diligence, find component manufacturers and assemble yourself. If you don't, if that's not your forte, outsource to a specialist contract manufacturer who can do that for you to ensure those three important things: quality, cost, and IP protection. If you do that, you'll be well on your way to making a great business. Good luck. Peace.